I don't know about you, Coach, but I hope that either all of us or none of us are judged by the actions of our weakest moments, but rather by the strength we show when and if we're ever given a second chance.
If you just focus on yourself and don't care about anyone else, that makes you selfish. But if you just give all your energy to others and drain it without protecting yourself, that's self-sabotage. But when we choose to take care of ourselves, our mental health, our physical health, and our emotional health, so that we can serve others, that's service.
Let's go into the new year. Let's go into the new year. With the new year almost here, there's going to be a lot of talk about New Year's resolutions. There always is. New year, new me, right? New year, new me. So as I discussed a bit ago, shifting our identity, when we were looking at the ABC that I reviewed, I'm pro new year, new me. I'm pro new year, new me. As long as we're really putting in the reps of the things that can, in time, really create the new identity, the new me. What is the new me? The new me is definitely a new identity. It's not just an outcome goal. Well, the new me is 50 pounds lighter. Okay, that's a part of it, but there's going to need to be work on that identity shift, and then all of the other actions that have to go into it. All right, so I want to talk about a little bit about that. So I'm all about it, new year, new me, as long as we're working on all of those elements, all of those performance-based initiatives, all of that identity shifting to help us really create the new me. If not, then we end up with certain actions and certain behaviors, but it's still all the old you, all of the, it's impossible to perform in a manner that is inconsistent with how we really see ourselves. So we want to make sure we're continuing to develop how we really see ourselves so that there is a new you, and so that the actions will continue to be in alignment with the new you. So are New Year's resolutions worth putting in place? Well, I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not a big fan of resolutions because they rarely stick. Some reports indicate that less than 25% are still engaged in their resolution after 30 days. February 1st, less than 25% are still engaged in their New Year's resolution. And only 8% of people achieve their New Year's resolutions. So I'm not a big fan of resolutions, but I am a big fan of goals. And I'm very much okay with going with the flow and using the end of one year and the beginning of the next as a marker for an ending and a beginning, so that we can reflect, to be grateful, to think about what we want for the coming year, and to set a goal or two. So as I reflect on the past year, it's easiest and most natural for me to split time between woulda, coulda, shoulda, gratitude, and where to from here. Okay, if I'm being honest, there's some woulda, coulda, shoulda, gratitude's in there always, and where to from here. What I find I most have to do is forgive myself for my fall downs. Let things go sooner rather than later. Be self-compassionate, fail forward, recover quickly, and focus on who and all that I am appreciative for. So there are many ways to skin the goals cat. So instead of resolutions, if we're going to have some goals, there's several ways to do it. Some are going to set 1 to 2 big goals. Others will set 10 small goals. Still others will set 1 to 2 small goals. Who's most successful? It depends. I've got a mantra at Leanness Lifestyle University. Created this many, many, many years ago, probably 20 some years ago. And it is PWE squared. That's how we say it, PWE squared. And it stands for pursue the worthy endeavor, persist without exception. A key word in that mantra is worthy. We must always remember that energy is a limited resource, and only a few endeavors are truly worthy of our precious time and energy without exception. There's always enough time, energy, affection, and money for the most important things. There's never enough of those for everything. Regardless of whether you set 1 to 2 goals or 10, I do believe it's worth our time to set the ones we really feel are worthy of the limited energy we have, to get clarity and to focus on what we want rather than what we don't want. So if resolutions are not so good and goals are better, what kinds of goals am I talking about? I think they should be SMART. SMART is an acronym. S is specific. They should be M, measurable, A, action-based, R, realistic, T, time-sensitive. And that trailing P, SMART P goals, is how I say it. That trailing P is about them being performance-based. So we want our goals to have about a 10% focus on outcome and a 90% focus on performance-based actions. And, as always, these goals should be backed by a killer why. There are 5 things I want to share that I hope you can transfer into a worthy goal for yourself rather than a resolution in 2024. First, as it says, skip the resolutions and instead opt for a goal or 2. Remember that time, energy, affection, and money are limited resources, so PWE squared is worthy of remembering. Pursue the worthy endeavor, and if you do, persist without exception. Next, goals should be 10% outcome-based, meaning like I want to lose 30 pounds. The 30 pounds is an outcome goal. Goals should be 10% outcome-focused, 90% SMART P, 90%. By starting with the outcome goal, we need that. Where are we going? If we don't have the destination in mind, then we don't know what we're really aiming for. We don't know what actions to take. So we do need the outcome goal, but we need 90% or more of our focus to be on SMART P goals. So, yeah, we need a picture, a global picture. That's that 10% of what we ultimately want to achieve. But the other 90% of your thinking into SMART P goals. As I said, reiterating, SMART, specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-sensitive. And as I said, that trailing P at the end refers to the performance-based. Performance-based goals or actions are those within your direct control. That's why they're so important. They're actions within your direct control. Those that don't rely on others. Those not dependent on anything or anyone else. Why direct 90% of your goals' attention to SMART P goals rather than the outcome? Because it's the consistent execution of SMART performance-based activities. The exceptional execution of the fundamentals. All right? Fundeceptional. The exceptional execution of the fundamentals that will ultimately get you to the outcome goal. Next, make succeeding as easy as possible. Do everything you can to make the performance goals as easy as possible for you to do consistently. Take a few hours on Sunday and food prep for the week. You save yourself so much time and frustration, and you increase the odds of success so much more when you do a little bit of batch food prepping for the week. Have things ready to go, easy, grab and go. And because I do like his book, like I said, I'm going to give you something James Clear says about the behaviors we want to do more of. He says, make them obvious, make them easy or attractive, make them easy and satisfying. I have zero argument with anything here at all. As much as you possibly can, make anything we want to do, especially those things we want to do more of, we want to do them more, and they don't come all that natural to us, we want to make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Next, make a promise, keep a promise. Map cap. And go really small. Really small. So we're looking for a really small actionable step. Tiny actionable step. Something you've got a 95 to 100% confidence that you will do it. Something not too overwhelming. The deal is, if you keep this small promise, you do not have to do more. Okay? So, let's say you understand the value of exercise. You probably do. But today you're feeling overwhelmed about the thought of it, or unmotivated to do it, or unmotivated about the thought of doing it tomorrow. Make a self-promise, tiny one, for something so small, something so tiny, but it's performance action oriented. Something that you're 95 to 100% confident that you will do. And here's the deal you're making with yourself. If you do this small thing, you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to follow through with the next step. There's no bait and switch going on here. This isn't a reverse psychology thing. We're trying to trick the subconscious into da-da-da-da. It's not going to work. You come at it authentically. When you make these deals, when you make a promise, keep a promise, the idea is that if you honor it as written, if you honor it as you thought about it, that's it. You don't have to do any more. If you actually do the really tiny action step, you are not obligated to do anything else. So instead of committing whole hog, And people, when I say this to people and I say, give me an example of what you're thinking about, I usually reply with, oh my God, that's so huge. And it could be something like, bear with me, I will log all my foods for 3 days. Wow, that's a huge promise to keep to yourself with respect to when I think of make a promise, keep a promise. Really huge. So go think really micro, tiny, small. So instead of committing whole hog to 30 minutes of exercise, make a promise to yourself, a deal, if you will, to just lay your workout clothes out the night before. That's it. Then tell yourself or the universe or however you want to think of this deal, say, that's all I'm promising. That's it. Take it or leave it. I'm not promising I'll go work out. I'm not promising I'll put the clothes on, but I will lay them out. Then do that. Then do that thing. Lay your clothes out. Make a promise, keep a promise. Make the promise, keep the promise to yourself. And even if you don't put the workout clothes on the next day, so be it. You made the promise, you kept the promise. Good job. Make a promise, keep a promise, go small. Smaller than that. Whatever you're thinking, smaller than that. I will eat 3 to 5 cups of vegetables today. Holy moly, that's huge if you haven't been doing that consistently. I will open the refrigerator and look at a vegetable that I have in there. I will take 1 bite of one vegetable by tomorrow by 10 a.m. or whatever. Tiny, one little thing. Make the promise, keep the promise. Remember, you want to have that 95 to 100% confidence that you will achieve whatever it is you're making the promise about. At least two things will happen when you make the self-promise and you keep the self-promise. One, you'll often follow through on the bigger step that moves you closer to your goal. When you lay those clothes out, you'll often put them on. When you put them on, you'll often start the workout, get out of the house, get in the car. Whatever you got to do, you will often do that. And again, it's not a bait and switch though. It's not a trick. It's just when we set things in motion, a lot of times, it's the first step, that stops most people. And so if we can just get that first step, and then also, I'll go into that in a second. So that's kind of the first benefit, is that often you'll do kind of the next bigger step that can help you move closer to your goal. And the second thing is that can often happen is you strengthen the habit of keeping self-promises, which continues to rep by rep. Think of it as reps. It's like, how much time does it take to establish a new habit? I don't think time is a really good marker, a metric to use to determine like how long something's going to take to become habit. I think reps are. How many reps did you put in creating the habit? How many reps have you put in doing this new behavior for it to become habit? Not necessarily how much time. Both are going to be necessary, but if you think of reps, it can be, I think, a lot more powerful. So a second benefit to this make a promise, keep a promise is you strengthen the habit of keeping self-promises, which continues rep by rep to evolve your identity into someone who keeps promises with themselves. Give it a try. Give it a try. Start small, really small, so tiny that it almost feels silly. Make that tiny promise, keep the promise. Start putting in the reps into make a promise, keep a promise. MAPCAP. As you put in the reps on this strategy, you are far more likely to turn tiny actions into progress-driving habits. Last but not least, know why it's worth your time and energy. You need to really ask yourself, what do you really get? What do you really get for doing the work necessary to achieve this goal? You have to make sure your why is relevant, current, and emotionally driving willpower. Have to make this work. Listen, resolutions rarely stick, but I'll bet on the person who skips the resolutions, who sets 1 to 3 truly worthy outcome goals, who then spends 90% of their focused energy and time on smart performance-based goals, smart performance-based actions, things that are directly within their control, who makes the behaviors they want to do more of as easy as possible, okay? Who lets self-limiting stories go more and more, who is open to questioning their self-limiting stories, who is willing to explore a bit and see if there's anyone like you in your exact situation, or as close to it as possible, who has overcome whatever it is you need or want to overcome to achieve the goals that you desire. I'll bet on that person. I'll bet on the person who makes tiny promises and keeps them repetitively, which building that stack of undeniable proof that they are committed to their goals and they are someone who keeps their self-promises. I'll bet on the person who develops, refines, and reads their why, the killer why, develops this emotionally driving why. So the will to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not, is certain or nearly certain. And with that, that wraps up the final state of fitness for 2023. As we step into the new year, I really hope, that I and LLU as a whole can truly be a source of strength and determination building for you so that you can really truly feel positive about pursuing your dreams. You can get to any healthy weight you want. You can be done losing weight. I promise you that. I want to help you continue to refine and build on that identity, keeping promises to yourself, creating that new identity with a stack of undeniable proof so you can live a future filled with health, fitness, and success. So, until next year and beyond, let's focus on what we want. Let's be grateful for what we already have. And remember, it's all happening perfectly. Happy New Year. Here's to a fantastic 2024. See you guys around. Bye-bye.